Mama loves baby and Papa does too. That baby sure loved through and through. Mama feeds baby with care in her eyes. I sure am puzzled, just got to ask why. Why go down to that video store? Bring all those monsters through your door. Through your door. Why feed your baby though you seem so kind? Satanic nightmares to his vulnerable mind. Satanic nightmares to his vulnerable mind.
When Dad started his research, it was not known that negative childhood experiences could have profound effects psychologically and biologically. Fire damage things. It doesn't look like this is
Anything.
Here, this is more.
Oh, that's a questionnaire.
It is.
When is this from?
So this is from St. Luke's School, and this very first, today's date is March 22nd, 1994. And this child said she was 11 years and 5 months old when she had her very first menstrual period. And there's been research that's pretty well documented that even women much older than this remember when they had their first period. So we can assume that these reports, self-reports of age of menarche, are accurate enough, pretty accurate. There's always been a lot of arguing and fighting in my house, true. When I was growing up, I usually had to go to bed earlier than most of my classmates. False. Oh, false, yeah. My father gave me a lot of hugs when I was growing up, true.
Here's the summary of the research. The relationship between early childhood experience and age of menarche. The average age of menarche for girls in Europe and North America has dropped sharply over the last 160 years, from approximately 16 or 17 years around 1840 to about 12 and a half now.
My parents thought it was very important for me to learn when I was very little that the world can be very dangerous. False.
What does that mean?
That means that this girl was not taught to be fearful of the world and was protected from some of the worst things that happen in it. And her parents believed that was the right course for them to take. That their job was to protect her from all the bad stuff, not make her feel scared of the bad stuff so she would protect herself.
And Mama loves Johnny and Papa does too. That boy is sure loved through and through. He started his first grade just yesterday. I sure am puzzled, just got to say. Why go down to that video store? Bring Nightmare on Elm Street through your door. Why your little boy's dreaming of Freddy at night? Claws in his heart, screaming in fright. Claws in his heart, screaming in fright.
If you're stressed as a kid, the biological outcome of that is to grow up faster, have a shorter childhood, reach menarche and adulthood quicker, where you presumably have more capacity to take care of yourself. If you've been given the job of taking care of yourself in a dangerous world, your whole body wants to grow up faster.
Thanks, Mom.
Is that clear enough, Jensen?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you. Want some help putting this away?
easy, isn't it? I mean, it just is so touching.
What's so touching?
Just, the differences among the children, and how, in their experience of life, childhood, safety.
The differences in
Between children who were raised to be less vigilant and children that are raised vigilant.
Be a cognitively
if
flexible
the environment's
adult.
safe. But if the environment isn't safe,
You better transition
You wanna-
fast.
you
and
wanna
have
speed
kids.
it up.
You get some R selection going.
Do you mention this to Colin, the idea there's sort of there's a bifurcation in the developmental stress, some flexibility in the human developmental response that essentially in a safe situation we can make it like an elephant, right? Develop a high amount of care, devote a high amount of care to a relatively small amount of offspring, right?
Yeah.
Or in other situations, you make like a rabbit and you devote a small amount of care to a large amount of offspring.
That's a reproductive strategy.
Yeah.
Rabbits have one reproductive strategy. It works.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just
For
a
them.
lot of rabbits, and
Yeah.
and then there are elephants, just as referred to, where I think gestation is like 22 months or something.
Yeah, right,
And then
right.
when the baby elephant is in the, it's like going there, they're going on their walk,
Yeah.
and everybody's around them. Nobody's gonna harm that baby elephant.
No,
That's not happening.
Right.
Why go down to that video store? Bring vampires and werewolves through your door. Why your little girl's trying to have a body she trusts. You poison her feelings with demonic lust. You poison her feelings with demonic lust. And mom loves her children, and papa does too. Those children sure are loved through and through. And mom feeds her children with care in her eyes. I sure am puzzled, just got to ask why. Why go down to that video store? Bring all those monsters through your door. Why feed your children, though you seem so kind? Satanic nightmares to his vulnerable mind. Satanic nightmares to their vulnerable minds.
That's a song.
That's the song.
Dad, when did you write that?
I wrote that when I was working as a school psychologist. So I'm working, and as part of my assignment was to go to the South Bronx weekly.
Yeah.
For this one school. And at the same time, this is like you're in the 8th grade, I think, 7th or 8th, I think 8th grade. And I'm at a Waldorf school. And I've been working on this paper, and I come across the idea that, there's been lengthening, there's been a shortage of childhood. Your childhood has been less than it was in the mid-19th century. And then when the consensus in the earlier part of the 20th century, in the mid-20th century, was that, it's because of better child care and better diet. So there I am going to your school in the 8th grade, and I'm seeing these, boys and girls that are just beginning to go into puberty, compared to in the South Bronx, men and women. The men had facial hair, and the women were clearly women, and not just girls, little girls there. And the idea that they had better, the reason was because they've just had much better child care and much better diets than the girls in Hawthorne Valley. I go, what? Because the diets in this area are extraordinarily wonderful, and the medical care is very positive. And so the idea that the reason that there was these differences, they saw early puberty as a good thing. because they're getting robust.
Who saw? The,
Well, a lot of. In other words,
you're saying that in the 20th century?
yeah.
In the 20th century, the dominant medical view has been that the
Well, they didn't know. They didn't know that there was no understanding of why. They just said, "Oh, this is good." Like in other words, if you're a boy and you're going into your puberty a little earlier than your peers, you got an advantage in basketball and football teams, and
they thought it was a good thing.
it's a good thing. So there wasn't certainly wasn't anything negative about it, but then they ended up doing research and they found that there are these problems. That was relatively new. Earlier puberty is related to more cancers of the reproductive system. The earlier puberty related to, issues around, sexual, social, psychological development, sexual development. That is, this social and psychological sexual development had some problems with earlier childhood, earlier puberty for these girls. So anyway.
You said something to me a moment ago I just want to ask you about. You said, what I heard you say is, I'm really, really unhappy about doing this. Can you tell me why? I just want to know. It's not wrong.
It's basically, it brings back the feelings of having lost this thing that I thought was, that not having it ever published, the study itself. And I'm just sad about it, that's all.
It's a summary, but somewhere there is also, I think, among the burnt things, or pulled out of the burnt things, enough of a document to see what kind of questions the girls answered on the survey.
So childhood before 1840 might have even been longer.